Sorry about that, guys. I'm late because I ended up having somebody came over right at 7. Yeah, I think because I didn't go live right at 7, maybe. I don't know. Oh my God, now you're the mysterious mermaid and the missing shoe. Oh my gosh. Hey, Mercy with an IE and not a Y. Let me see. Mm, cool, I need to share my screen. It's so hot in here. My cats are laying on the floor. I have the air conditioner on, but it's only in my kitchen. Oh, wait, I wonder. Hey, Sarah. I can't believe how hot it is. I'm sorry, I don't mean to keep complaining, but this sucks. ASD. I hate this heat. I already have high blood pressure, and so I'm always running hot, you know what I mean? Now it's even worse. Ugh. It's about to storm. Hey, cool gamer. All right, I'm just gonna start reading. Okay, so yeah, we're almost done this book. Oh, have you guys ever heard of Herbert Baumeister? He is he's now not alive, but he is a serial killer and he killed gay men. I don't know. I've just not I don't know. I do know why. I've always been fascinated with this case, not because of him being a serial killer or of the killings, of course not. It was more the paranormal aspect to it. I watched Paranormal Witness, and that was my favorite episode. And then I was watching, or I even read up on him and everything else. And it was just, it happened in Indiana. Anyways, I ordered the book, and it focuses on not only what he did, but the paranormal side of it and the people living there now. They've been interviewed, and they see the same thing every time, like somebody talks about it. It's not, holy crap, it's hot, eh? So much. So anyways, I wanted to let you know that. So after this, which might even be done tonight, maybe. I plan on reading that book about Herbert Baumeister. I can't remember what it's called. I haven't got it yet. All right, so now we're on chapter 23, and this one's called Sister Secret. Angela, Becky, and I continued to secretly visit one another for several weeks. Then Angela showed up one night in early July 2014 and told me that father was sending her away to live alone again in South Dakota. Whatever you do, please keep your phone, I said. We can't lose contact again. I think we might really need each other soon. I would miss her terribly after having spent so much time with her recently, but it helped knowing I could reach her in emergency. We didn't dare call otherwise. Since that summer, we were receiving weekly messages from father saying that God didn't want anyone in his family to write, call, or talk to one another. This guy's unbelievable. Really, Mercy? Oh my gosh. I still have an attachment. Um, some sort of a male presence. Um, it hates me. I swear. I've had it since I was young. I don't understand where I even got it from. We were told it's for father's safety that they couldn't talk, write, or call to one another. I call both. Other restrictions were imposed without explanation. Parents were now forbidden to hug their children. What? This guy is insane. And the fact these people follow this, I'm just dumbfounded. We were told to stop writing personal journals or keeping any kind of personal history with writing or pictures. I assumed this was because father's custom of keeping detailed records of his own activities helped convict him, and he still had federal charges pending. Father also said that rice and mayonnaise were unacceptable before the Lord. Wow, guys. He continued to remind us to drink water every half an hour, on the hour and half hour exactly, and kneel for prayer hourly. What? How does that even make sense? So, remind us to drink water every half hour. Oh, on the hour and half hour exactly. That's crazy. They all were probably, I would imagine, peeing their pants at night. Like, can you imagine having to drink like, yeah, it's good to have water, but to drink it, like, every hour on the hour, every half hour, like, what the hell? A few days after Angela had to move, I received my own message. I was to move to a house of hiding in Colorado with my children and my sister Josie, whom I hadn't seen in years. I think Josie was meant as a sort of gift for me to make me feel a part of Father's family after years of keeping me away from them. If you hear any noises, that's my child in the background. He's playing a game. Sounds like it's getting pretty serious back there. Please send the heat up north over the Canadian border. It's hot as hell here. My children and I were excited to be getting out of our fenced in world in Short Creek. We packed up all our things the same evening we received that message. Seth Allred and our sister Shirley would be taking us to Colorado next morning. It took us most of the day to make us the 700-mile drive. The house, a four-bedroom ranch, sat on a beautiful 10-acre property near Pikes Peak at an elevation of 11,000 feet. It was a big change from the desert. Josie arrived a day after us. I was surprised by what a beautiful, mature young woman she had grown into. At 19, she was now father's oldest unmarried daughter. She was 2 inches taller than me, and her hair was the stunning shade of auburn that I've never seen before, nor have I ever since. The way she held herself and the way she talked reminded me so much of our mother. Do you want to share a room with Lavender? I said. The two older girls would share another room, the boys and I a third. The fourth we used as a classroom. Sure, but father told all of his girls at home that we have to have our own rooms so we don't think immoral thoughts about anyone else. You remember this of the LDS? Mm. That seems kind of weird, doesn't it? I was careful not to say too much. I mean, I never thought improper thoughts about my sisters. That is sick. Like, really? Now, this guy is gross. I guess. I don't think it took Josie long to figure out that I was struggling toward father, although I didn't dare say it outright. On July 10th, I was sitting by my boys' beds, waiting for them to fall asleep when my phone rang. It was Angela. I left their bedside and went to sit on my own. Angela, seriously, I said when I answered, it was extremely dangerous to call me now. What are you doing? I don't think I can stand living alone any longer. It was hard to make out what she was saying. She was crying so hard. Did something happen? I said. It took her a couple of minutes to compose herself enough to speak. You know what father did to you when you were younger? Oh, God. I sat up. Had never said anything to her about it. Rachel, are you there? Yes, my hands were starting to shake. I know you know what I'm talking about, Angela said. How do you know about it? Because he did the same things to me. Son of a bitch. I had no idea, I said. I thought I was the only one. The tears I cried then were ones of relief. I am so sorry father did that to you, but I'm glad to know that someone understands me, that someone believes me. But how did you find out he did it to me? Angela told me that when Becky was putting together my scrapbook at the triplexes, Angela had seen some of the letters father had written to me asking my forgiveness. I knew right away what he was referring to. Hey, Victoria. Father had starting ABUSINGing Angela when she was 6 years old. This sick son of a bitch. Ugh. Doing the same things to her he had been doing to me for 2 years by then. Everything she said brought back memories and images of those years. Angela told me father laid the blame for him, honestly, that Rich had been a very kind and loving husband and had never purposely hurt me. I skip a page. Yes, I skipped a page. Sorry. Angela told me father laid the blame for it on her, just as he had it on me. Angela, uh, when I told you to touch me, he told her I was just testing to see if you wanted to do it. You did it, so that shows you have immoral desires. Oh my God. Father continued ABUSINGing her until she was 10 years old. Why do you suppose father has kept you and me alone so much? Angela said. It's because of this. I think so too. Someday we are going to have to leave. I had finally said it. Now I finally feel like I can, thanks to you, because you understand. Same here, she said. We kept talking the whole night long, both of us so relieved to finally be able to shine a light on our deepest, darkest secret. It was a moment of elevation for me, having someone else hear and accept my truth was wonderful beyond description. Now we're on chapter 24. This one's called First One Out, so this must be when they're all leaving. Josie, my kids, and I had a lot of fun together in Colorado. We prepared meals together, and Josie helped me teach school in the mornings. In the afternoons, we'd go have adventures in the woods, taking hikes and exploring. Josie and my girls hung a rope over a branch of a big tree and made a swing out of it. Sometimes we'd go looking for a bendy tree and bounce the kids on it. So high up in the mountains, we saw a lot of wildlife. Hermit thrushes sang their beautiful spiraling songs and reached right into your heart with every morning and every evening. Mountain bluebirds shone in the thin air. The mule deer would come right up near the house, and they did see a lot of people, so they weren't afraid of us. We found bear scratches on many of the aspens around us, and even a cougar's claw marks up a tree trunk to the very top. Father sent a message that we weren't allowed to go walking in the woods. But Josie and I silently agreed that was ridiculous, and we continued our adventures. Angela and I continued to talk on the phone late at night. Father was still obsessed with my sexual relationship with Rich. He had sent a message commanding me to confess that Rich had Astuli abused me. Sorry I have to spell this out, but I can't say anything on YouTube. Well, they won't play it. My videos. I wanted to write him back. The only person who has SA'd me was you. I didn't dare. Instead, I told him honestly that Rich had been a very kind and loving husband and had never purposely hurt me. Father didn't like my response. We'd been in Colorado just 3 weeks when he sent a message that my kids and I were non members again and we were to move back to Short Creek. Josie was supposed to go to South Dakota. This is ridiculous, this idiot here. It's your first time here? Well, welcome, Victoria. It sucks you're coming in here for this crappy topic. It's a book I'm reading called Breaking Free uh, by Rachel Jeffs. Sorry. Jack. We are good people, though, I promise. I thought so. It was your first time too there, Michael, because I've seen you around before, but not here. Well, welcome. Again, sorry about the topic. Tomorrow's going to be about UFOs if you're interested. I'm reading a book on the Mojave incident. It's actually we're at a really good part, so I'm excited to read it. I couldn't figure out what Father wanted from me anymore. This never-ending stream of corrections seemed pointless, and I was getting tired of the weird messages he kept sending. Not to mention, I was really sick of moving. The only good thing about going back to Short Creek was that I could be near Becky once again. We had been assigned to a different house than we were in Colorado, but it was still just down the road from hers. She came to visit daily, walking to my house in plain view of security. Neither of us cared about the corrections that might result. My cousin Sherry Lynn was moved into a small camp trailer nearby. She had just turned 16 and had been sent to live alone. And so, this is crazy. You're into this topic? I have somebody that's also going to come up and share their story about being in the IBLP. So I would imagine she's going to come on after I'm done reading this book, which I don't know. I don't know if I'll be done by tonight. I'll try. Sorry, almost my spot. I was told to take her meals, but we were not to speak to each other. 16 was too young for this punishment. I tried to get her to talk anyway, but she didn't dare. Yes, it was. Yeah, the FLDS and the IBLP. It says here how I escaped polygamy, the FLDS cult, and my father, Warren Jeffs. Just sick what this man did and is still doing. Even though Angela was in a nicer place than I was, she was worse off because of all the members in South Dakota treated her badly. Our conversations, oh, now always included some version of this exchange. I'm going to leave soon. I really want out. Just wait a bit longer. Finally, Angela decided it was time. It was August and she was done. She had been apart from her husband since before her child was born. Yeah, false prophet. This book, just do you know who, Victoria, do you know who Warren Jeffs is? He was a cult, well, he still is a cult leader. He's behind bars right now, um, for some pretty nasty crimes against children, if you get my drift. So this is the book that was written by his daughter. It's called Breaking Free by his daughter, Rachel Jeffs. So I've been reading this for a couple months now. Um, I'm gonna put the picture, like these poor girls we're all harmed by this man. Look at them all. It's just sick. Yeah, he's in there, yeah. Yeah, the Institute and Basic Life Principles. And they're still using that with the Duggars. It's sick. Yes, it's by his daughter. That's why I wanted this book because I figured it would be, well, the most truest statement, right? And it is. It's heartbreaking, I'll tell you that. I have it on a playlist though if you would like to watch them all. Yeah, I would think so, Michael. I think so. Like they're quite similar, but this is just off the rails what Warren did. So finally, Angela decided it was time. It was August and she was done. She had been apart from her husband since before her child was born, and her son was now 8 years old. She had lived her entire life as a mother living in father's house, and the last two, she and her son had lived alone. Rachel, you have to help me get a phone number for our relatives in Centennial so they can come get me. I don't know how, but let me think about it. If the church finds out I helped you, I'll be in big trouble. He is a monster. Yeah, definitely. The next day, I remembered that you could call information to get a phone number. Angela, if you dial 411, you can ask for any number you want. Tell them you're looking for Dorothy Barlow in Centennial or Tom Barlow in Cane Beds. Becky had told us our uncle's name, and we had met our grandma when we were very young. Dorothy was our mother's mother, our grandmother, and Tom was their brother, our uncle. It took Angela several times, but she finally found Uncle Tom's number. She called him and he agreed to come get her from South Dakota in a week's time. He's going to come late at night so I can sneak into his car without anyone seeing me, Angela told me. I'm so glad she got out, like, yay. As the weeks passed, my sister kept me updated on her plans and what she was doing. She asked me to give her the directions to R23 to share with Tom because I had lived there longer and knew the place better than she did. During that week, she got two messages of correction from Bother, telling her that she was not of full truth telling order. In her confessions and that she needed to confess more. She was scared father would stop her. The day of Angela's scheduled departure, Becky was over at my house and overheard me on the phone with her. In a moment of righteousness, Becky was compelled to call her uncle Isaac and tell him that Angela was leaving that night. Oh, you son of why? Why did you do that? I said to Becky. I couldn't believe she would give Angela up like that. That's her own sister. Why would you tell? Oh my God, these guys. Well, we can't just let her go, Becky said defiantly, even though she was the one who'd gone so far as to find her grandparents on the outside. Yes, we can, I said. It's her choice, and that's what she wants to do. Later, Becky said she felt guilty, knowing that Angela was leaving. The years of being taught that leaving was a sin made her feel like she had to report it. Brainwashed. Every single one of these people. Isaac called Angela immediately and told her she was committing the worst sin possible, reeling off the list of terrible punishments that would follow her into the depths of hell. Angela's mother, Mother Annette, was over to Angela's house and told her she was wicked to do this. Angela wasn't having any of it. Done is done. Good for her. And with Uncle Tom ready to help her, she stood up to them. She told Mother Annette, Father abused me and Rachel as children. At first, Mother Annette was angry at Father, and then she said, Father had suffered for his wrongs, and the Lord has forgiven him. Wow, these mothers are, oh my gosh. Angela left with Uncle Tom that night. Isaac called me to find out what my role in her escape was. I wasn't about to tell him anything. I cried on the phone so I wouldn't have to speak. 4 days later, Isaac called again. You go out to Centennial where Angela is staying and bring her back, he said. Make her come home. She can live with you if she wants, but your father wants her back. They knew that Angela loved me and usually listened to what I said. Uncle Lyle had someone deliver a vehicle to my house, and Becky and I drove to Grandma's house. I had asked if Becky could come to show me the way, and Uncle Isaac told me she could. When we arrived, my grandmother and some of our other relatives greeted us at the door. I had not met most of these people, but they were all very kind and welcoming and invited us in. We sat with them in the living room for about 20 minutes while they did their best to make us comfortable. My grandmother showed us photographs of our mother's family. We had not been in a non church house since we were very young. Everything and everyone was so different from the life we knew. It was hard to know what to do or say. It is heartbreaking, yeah. Angela took me upstairs to her bedroom. I'm supposed to bring you back, I said, half laughing. I don't know what I wanted for Angela. It was confusing for me because I was still in the church, listening to all the terrible things everyone had to say about Angela. Still, I knew it was hell there. After everything I've been through, I will never go back to that. Good for you, Angela. No offense, but shame on Rachel for going there and trying to make her come back. I already knew that. I was happy and sad for her all at the same time. We talked for a little while, and then Becky and I returned to Short Creek without her. A week later, one of Father's wives, who had been living with Becky, brought me a letter. It was from Becky. I guessed what it said before I read it. She and her two older boys had gone to join Angela. Oh, that's amazing. Everyone's leaving. This is fantastic. And she wasn't about to leave her two younger sons behind either. Clearly, the guilt she'd felt when Angela left had dissipated. Wow. Now it's your turn, girlie. A week later, one of Father's wives who'd been living with Becky brought me a letter. I just read that. This is what happened. Uncle Tom had called the bishop's office and told them they had 2 days to bring Becky's two younger children, or else he would go to the police. Wow. Becky's boys had been living in a house of hiding in Colorado with some of of Father's family. Our uncles, Lyle and Isaac, had no choice but to bring the children back to Short Creek. No. And 2 days later, Robert, Rich's brother, met Becky at a park in Short Creek with the boys. Uncle Lyle and Becky's sister wife, Rosa, tried to convince Becky to sign adoption papers. Oh my God. And let her take Becky's children permanently. But Becky refused. Good. Uncle Tom was there with Becky, giving her support and helping her to be strong against the pressure she was getting to sign over the boys. Tom helped Becky get the boys into his vehicle and they drove away. That is amazing. You know what? I absolutely agree. I keep getting mad at her. I'm just like, I want you to go, leave, go. I'm not in this situation though. It has to feel like an impossible situation to be in, especially when you're conditioned to believe not to leave. Sorry, I'm on my phone and I can't type quickly. No worries. No, you're right. You are right, Victoria. Uncle Lyle guessed correctly that I was likely to follow Angela and Becky out. She couldn't leave. So he moved me and my children into a walled-in, iron-gated property. Lyle clearly didn't want me to have any contact with or access to my sisters, but what he couldn't have guessed was that not only did I have Uncle Tom's number, but Tom had already given me Becky's and Angela's new numbers too. They didn't have the church phone numbers anymore. I talked to my sisters all the time and late at night. They would come pick me up and drive me out to their house to hang out, giving me a preview of what life could be like on the outside. We watched the movie Titanic together on DVD. It was the first movie I'd seen since Becky and I saw Bambi when we were little girls. I was so ready to join my sisters and leave, but there was one thing holding me back. I wanted to talk to Rich. I wanted him to leave with me and the children, but I had no way to contact him, and I didn't know where he was. So I decided to wait a little longer in hopes that an opportunity would present itself. Sorry, just a second. He was getting a little loud. In the meantime, I was increasingly brazen about leaving my house with my kids. Some days we'd go to the park and play basketball with some of Marcia's kids, friends, or to town. Rich's younger brother, Danny, sometimes gave us money so we could get some of the things we desperately needed, like food. jackets, and paper and pencils to keep the children busy. Becky had stayed in touch with our brother in law, and she had given him his number during our secret meetings. Danny had always been kind and didn't mind breaking the rules to help us. Since he wasn't married and worked for Phase Concrete, a company owned by the church in Short Creek, he had money. The FBI was monitoring Father's family, so when they learned that Angela had left, they sought her out. She told them that Sherry Lynn, my cousin, was underage and living alone. The Washington County Sheriff called me to confirm Sherry Lynn was where Angela said she was and that she was indeed just 16, and I did so. The FBI rescued her and took her to Father, who had been sent away forever several years earlier. Why the hell would they take her to Father, the FBI? The FBI rescued her and took the 16-year-old and took her to Father, who had been sent away forever several years earlier. Sherry Lynn eventually ended up back with her mother, who was still in the church, but at least she didn't have to live alone anymore. Angela also told the FBI that Uncle Lyle had taken my food card away, just as he had taken all the food cards from the women he was taking care of. That was a big taking care of. The agents told Angela to tell me that I could call the Utah the agents told Angela to tell me that I could call the Utah Department of Economic Security and say my card was stolen and they would send me a new one. I did and had them send the card to a friend's PO box so that no one would know I had it, since my mail was usually given to me by whichever of Lyle's wives was in charge of bringing my food each week. It was so nice to have real food again. Oh my gosh, this is terrible. Life continued for a few months. My kids and I have had to move one more time when one of Uncle Lyle's daughters, Hillary, decided she wanted my house. Still, I heard no word from Rich and I knew nothing of his whereabouts. Wasn't he even curious about his children? Then one day in December 2014, when my kids and I were on our way to go sledding with some of my friends at Bryan Head near Cedar City, Utah, Uncle Isaac dropped the hammer. Oh, come on. Rachel Isaac said, "Your father is not pleased, holy frig, with your socializing and leaving home. He's having you move to Lyle's place so no one can talk to you. Girl, leave. Like, she's got to go." I held the phone to my ear, stunned but silent. "Are you there?" Rachel he asked. "Yes," I said, "Isaac. I really don't want to live with Uncle Lyle." Uncle Lyle's house was gated and walled and guarded. Moving there would be a life sentence, worse than bothers in jail. Like him, I'd never get out. Isaac chuckled a little and then said, "Yes, I understand, but you have to obey your father, and this is what he wants." You telling him to go to hell. I tried to have fun on the mountain that day, tubing in the snow with my friends, but inside my mind churned in turmoil. Did I risk going to Lyle's in hopes of seeing Rich again? What was the point if I were all trapped there? I realized that I had a big decision to make. The time for waiting has passed. Finally. How old is she? She's in oh, I think she's in her late 20s. Or is it 30? I can't remember. Hmm. So this is 2014. She's a lot older now, but she's still got youngins, so I believe yeah, she's still in her late 20s, I think. That night, Lyle called me himself and accused me of immoral behavior because I'd been leaving my house and participating in forbidden, if harmless, recreation. He reminded me that fun was a sin. Yes, before she left. She's still in here at this point, and we're almost done this book. No, I said, "I've done nothing wrong. I don't think the way you think. I'm not like you." I could hear him gasp. Lyle was the bishop. Nobody spoke to him like that. "Rachel, I'm sending my boys over tonight to move you," he said, his voice taut with anger. "No, Lyle, I don't want to move to your house tonight. You have defied your father, Rachel, and you must come live here and repent." I wasn't going to win this argument. And frankly, I was afraid of Lyle. Father had always issued his corrections in a measured tone of voice, but Lyle was a big man who screamed. The best I could do was buy some time. "At least wait until tomorrow morning," I said. "It's going to take me hours to pack all of our things and get the children ready." "The boys will be there first thing," he said, and hung up. I lay on my bed with my hands on my head. My stomach felt sick at the thought I had to leave the church now without seeing Rich. I picked up a framed picture of Rich that was by my bed. "I'm sorry, Rich," I said to his image, "but I have to do this." Then my eyes filled with tears. I picked up my wedding scrapbook and started leafing through it. "Rachel, you're making this way harder." I looked, closed the book, and stood up. I had work to do. I went downstairs, locked the outside doors, then I called Angela. Come get my children. I have to pack. She's finally leaving. Chapter 25. This one's called Over the Wall. A city marshal was following us, Angela said, panic in her voice. I stayed on the phone with her during the 15 minutes or so it took Becky and her to make their drive to my house, while I packed up a few things for them to take for the night. With guards making regular passes around the house to make sure I was behaving, we had to time their arrival perfectly. I was sure Lyle would have increased surveillance after our conversation earlier, but we had the advantage of darkness to help us accomplish our mission without detection. Thank you for looking that up. So she was 30? Okay. Now she's 39. Thank you. I figured it was her late, really like a late 20s, if not near she was 30. Yeah. Now this, you have to lose him, I said. The marshals were employed by the city, but the men were members of the church, so they acted as security for Uncle Lyle. What? That is insane. So you can have a city marshal that works for these assholes. No. We'll keep driving around, Rachel. The longer we keep Uncle Lyle from knowing that I'm leaving, the better. The children were playing at in their rooms, oblivious to what was about to happen. I paced with the phone to my ear. Well, did you shake the marshal? We're going to circle one more block. Hang on. I wanted to stand by the window to look for them, but I didn't dare move the curtains in case someone was watching me from the roof across the street. I couldn't see that far in the pitch black. After a few minutes, Angela said, okay, I'm almost to your house. Have your children out by your gate ready to jump in. I ended the phone call, went to get the children. Everybody put on your shoes. Your aunts are coming to get you for a sleepover with your cousin. Sorry, I said, didn't want to explain what was really happening until later, so they wouldn't ask a lot of questions. I lined them up at the door. Shh, it's late, so we have to be very quiet. Are you guys ready? I opened the door and quickly walked the children down to the gate just as Angela and Becky pulled up. I opened the rear door and whispered to the children, quick, get in before anyone sees. All five piled into the back seat. I shut the car door and Angela hit the gas. I saw little hands in the rear window waving goodbye to me before the car turned around out of sight. Why wouldn't she go? Oh, hey, none. Yeah, that's crazy. I still can't believe it. So they're being bought off, is that what you mean? I ran back to my house and locked the front and back doors. I had to pack up the belongings of one adult and five children. I set to work packing clothes, photographs, and scrapbooks, my heart breaking anew every few minutes. I couldn't help but think of all the people I loved and how they would now think I was the most terrible person in the world for denying everything I'd been taught to believe. Father had often said, when a person chooses to leave the priesthood, they are serving their right to their heritage and priesthood blessings. There's no salvation for them. My family and friends still believed what he said and would certainly disown me. My sisters and brothers who stayed behind, father's wives who had helped raise me, my own husband, they would all be in past of my life. Just as the sun was beginning to peak above the horizon, around 7 o'clock, there was a dreadful pounding at the front door. Oh shit. Rachel, we've come to move you to Lyle's house. His boys are right on schedule. I sat on one of the children's beds silent. Bang, bang. Rachel, we know you're in there. Still, I said nothing. I was afraid so much as to stand for fear that they would hear the floorboards creak. We're not leaving, Rachel. We got all day. Ring, my cell phone lit up, and I pushed it away from me on the bed. I was afraid to even touch it. The lit, phone light dimmed. The call ended. I heard the ping indicating a message. Every time the screen lit up, it felt like a reboot. Eventually, the pounding stopped, but the men didn't leave. I snuck a peek at the window. The men were sitting on my porch. By 8 a.m., I had 11 missed calls from Lyle and 7 from Isaac. All I could do was wait and try to keep my cool, but I was frightened as I'd ever been in my whole life. By noon, Lyle was there banging on the door himself and bellowing my name. I flinched every time he slammed his fist against the front door. I could hear him talking in muffled tones to his boys, but I couldn't make out what they were saying. And then all was silent. Bang, bang. I jumped. The sound was coming from the other side of the house. He was at the back door, pummeling it with his fist and jiggling the knob. I was afraid he was going to break right through the wooden door and come for me. I grabbed my phone, ran to my bedroom, and locked the door. Geez, call 911. What happened to the police that, I don't think anything ever happened. Yeah, exactly. None said just answered my question, yeah, or answered your question for you. To my knowledge as well, nothing ever happened that should have happened to these people. Yeah, sick, right? It's not right. So I ran to my bedroom and I locked the door. Rachel, do not ignore me. I went into my bathroom and locked that door too. I sank to the floor and wrapped my arms around my bent knees, shaking with fear. I would be calling 911. I could hear the windows shaking all over the house. You're disobeying the prophet, Rachel. Your father has ordered you to come live in my house. Ben, you must obey your father. Oh, why couldn't she just say fuck you? I could hear the windows shaking all over the house from the force of his fist against the door. I stayed on the bathroom floor until mid afternoon when the noise finally stopped. Gingerly, I unlocked the door and tiptoed through my bedroom to the window. There was no sign of anybody there. I went to the girls' room on the other side of the house and looked out. The men had left the porch and there was no vehicle in front. Now, I just had to wait until dark. The phone continued to ring throughout the afternoon, like some tiny monster come to life. I dared not answer Lyle's and Isaac's calls. I don't know. That's a really good question. Really good question. I don't understand it either. I really don't. There's a lot of them that should be behind bars right now, and for some reason they're not. I'm thinking maybe, from what I understand, it's because they wanted Warren, the cult leader. There should have been a lot more people in jail. Yeah, definitely brainwashed. I was still shaking hours later when my brother Ray, Brenda Jessup's son, called. Ray had been in hiding just as I was, and we had visited several times after he discovered where I was. Can I stop by? He had no idea what had just happened. Yes, but you have to be fast. I didn't explain why. The bags with my children's belongings and mine were upstairs, so Ray didn't see anything amiss when he came over. Father is sending me to live with your husband, Ray said. He told me that Rich was living with some of Father's other sons at the Norway house of the hiding in Colorado, where Becky and I had stayed. It made my heart hurt to hear Rich's name. What I was about to do was going to hit him hard. Yeah, that would make, yep. That's what I'm thinking, just so they can get Warren. It was like an unspoken rule that within their compound, they didn't intervene. It wasn't until after Jeff's arrest that anyone tried to step up, but most of the people were so brainwashed. Yep. It's just sick. It's sad. It's horrible. It's horrific. Ray and I talked for a little bit, and then he asked, why did Becky and Angela leave? My internal filters had fallen away. I told him the truth about what father had done to me and Angela, and I watched as the blood drained from his face. When my phone rang and I didn't answer it, Ray said I should go. He knew it wasn't safe for him to be seen with me. Security's watching me, I said. I retreated to my bedroom after he left. Lyle and his sons came back to see if I would let them in, but they didn't stay long that time. That evening, my friend Sharon Allred, Rich's cousin, snuck in to see me for a few hours while I waited for the cover of darkness. Sharon was in her early 20s, and I had gotten to know her through Marcia's girls. She was a non member, forced to live away from her family in Short Creek, like so many of us. I was near bursting with what I was planning to do, so I told her I was leaving, and she was completely supportive. Yeah, and he's still to this day. There may not be that many left on him, but he's still doing it to this day. I don't understand. They should cut off all contact, like the prison should for him. He should not be allowed to have any contact. Yes, he is Victoria. Yep. We sat in my room and we locked the door, eating ice cream like naughty little girls, while the phone continued to ring and I continued to ignore it. Wouldn't it be funny if Uncle Lyle broke open the door and came in here and saw us this way, then sent a letter to father that said, I found Rachel in her room eating ice cream? It's gonna be a punishment for eating ice cream. Several fathers' revelations said that God did not approve of ice cream anymore. We laughed until the banging on the door returned, louder, more terrifying than before. At 8 o'clock, Sharon snuck out the back door, but saw her leave my house and called Lyle. So sorry. 8 o'clock. Sharon snuck at the back door, but security saw her leave my house and called Lyle, who gathered her up right away to find out what I was doing. Thankfully, she didn't tell him, and as she told me in the text message. By 9, it was fully night, and I called Angela. Can you come get me? I'm ready. I don't think anyone is watching right now. Lyle's guards usually worked around the clock, but I couldn't see any of them on duty just then. I brought all the bags I packed downstairs, set them by the front door, and stepped outside to wait. There was a note pinned to the door. I recognized Lyle's handwriting. Rachel, please do not leave. You can live wherever you want. Too late now. I laughed out loud. I hadn't slept in 36 hours. My nerves were raw from the day's constant onslaught, and now he was telling me I could call the shots if I stayed. After what you've put me through, I don't think so. Good for her. I know, it's just so frustrating. I brought everything down to the gate to wait. I was shivering in the late December cold. Despite the tone of Lyle's note, the fear of being found out made me shiver harder. I didn't know when the guards would return, but I was certain they would. Hurry, Angela, hurry, I thought as I stood huddled by my bags. Several trucks passed by, causing me to duck for fear it was security coming to get me. It wasn't so much relief I felt when they continued without stopping as merely a pause in the sense of dread that had been with me since the previous night. I don't know what miracle cleared the roads when my sister finally pulled up to the curb in front of my house, but there was no one around to see us as we jammed my family's belongings into the back of the car and drove away from Short Creek for the last time. Yeah, it makes me feel really, really happy for her. I'm glad. About time, eh? In the brief time Becky and Angela had been out, Grandma had gotten a four-bedroom apartment for my sisters and their children. So that's where they took me that night. That is awesome. When we got to the apartment, I hugged my kids, then went into what would be my bedroom, shut the door, and I cried. It was hitting me all at once what I had just done. I would never see Rich again. My children would never see their father again. I would never see or speak to all my family still in that church. I would have to figure out on my own now how to support 5 children and fast. But first, I got to experience my first party. Party? No way. I hadn't paid attention to the calendar when I was planning my escape, so it was mere chance that the day I left was New Year's Eve. Oh shit. The party at Grandpa's house was wild and fun, and a culture shock for sure. Grandpa's family was very large. Since they lived polygamy, even though they weren't in the church, our aunts and uncles filled the large living area where all kinds of food and wine were served. It was my first taste of wine. Wow. And I only had a little because I wasn't used to it. It was not my first alcohol. When Becky and I were 18, we did a pirate skit using unopened beer bottles as props. Alcohol wasn't technically allowed, but father let Mother Annette keep some in the fridge when she was nursing a baby. Okay. When we first finished our performance, we had asked father if we could drink the bottles of beer. He told us yes, if you drink the whole bottle at once. And we did. Then father had fun making us walk a straight line, which we could do because we weren't drunk, but I did have a massive headache the next morning. That New Year's Eve, we played games and some of the aunts and uncles told crazy funny stories that had us all grabbing our bellies laughing. I hadn't been around people who dared to laugh for such a long time that I had to keep telling myself, it's okay to laugh now, Rachel. This makes me want to cry. At midnight, the revelers, many of whom were a little drunk by then, stood to sing a joyful, slightly out of tune Auld Lang Syne. Yeah, there is. I was watching Escaping Polygamy. It's amazing. Yeah, there's a whole network for these women and kids who want out. They supply housing, schooling, and jobs. Most have limited education and only did jobs. Yeah, exactly. It's definitely amazing. As I lay down in bed that night, I told myself, this is going to be okay. But I had a hard time sleeping that night. My daughter Martha, 10 years old then, couldn't stop crying. She believed we were making a terrible mistake and was sad that she would never see her father or her other brothers and sisters again. Do you want to go back? I said, I'm staying here, but you can go back if that's what you want. No, I just want to see our family again. Hopefully someday they will leave too, and then we can see them, I said. We have to pray that they will. That all we can do right now. That's all we can do right now. Eventually Martha settled down to sleep, but I tossed and turned thinking about what I just done to my family. That's the thing. This is kind of stuff that would make me turn on God. You would think it would anyways, but it didn't. The next day, all my uncles on my mother's side of the family got a trailer ready and drove us over to my house in Short Creek to gather up the rest of my belongings. I did not want to go with them because I knew that Uncle Lyle would have someone there waiting to convince me of the error of my ways. So my sister Angela went with them. When they drove up to my house, there was security all around. Some of the security men had cameras set up on a deck across from my house to document my apostasy. When my uncles and sister Angela walked into my house, they saw my sister wife Gloria and three of her sisters waiting to talk to me. Uncle Lyle had told Gloria to wait at my house until I came to get my stuff so that she could give me a message. She asked Angela, "Where's Rachel?" Angela said, "She's not here." Gloria and her sisters stood there with their arms folded, one of them taking notes of the proceedings, trying to intimidate my uncles and sister, but instead, my uncles made jokes as they moved furniture and boxes, making the situation as light as possible. Yeah, there is. I don't get it. Well, isn't it legal in Utah? Exactly. When they brought my stuff, I found a letter from Gloria in the top drawer of my dresser. In it, she tried to convince me that what I was doing was terrible. "Rachel," she wrote, "you are the person that brings fun to our family. We won't be happy without you." The news of father's girls leaving spread like wildfire, and people in the community came out of the woodwork to help us. Wow. We were really lucky to have people who loved us and who cared for us. Our relatives were not very well off, but they helped us as best they could. My brother-in-law, Danny Allred, bought me a used Toyota Corolla so that I had a way to get around. A friend had given Angela 500 to help her out, and she turned around and gave it to me to buy real clothes for myself and my children. My sisters were already dressing in normal clothes. For the first couple of days, I wore a skirt because that's what I was used to. Then Angela let me borrow a pair of pants, and I was hooked. It's crazy that they can't wear pants. Yes, same, none, none. It used to be, but it's not now. Oh my god. Yes, there is, Victoria. Same with the FLDS and the Fundamental Latter-day Saints and the, IBLP. Yes, you're right, none, none. I did hear that too. Because I was gonna say, I didn't know if I was because they are in Utah. Right? I don't know if I'd like it or not. I don't know. But she said she loved it. Yeah, she said that Angela let me borrow a pair of pants and I was hooked. I love the freedom pants gave me. My girls quickly changed over too. They especially loved choosing their own things, going for the brightest and most elaborately decorated shirts they could find. We were so used to plain pastels that having access to clothes with design and character was exciting for all of us. Thank you. Wasn't too sure on that. Thank you. We bought food with food stamps, for which we were grateful. We had access to whatever we wanted to eat now, which was a welcome change for all of us. Squash and rice and sugar if we wanted it. I was never so happy to see onions and garlic in my life. Within a week, I'd put my children in public school for the first time. It was a huge change for them, and I had to convince them they would be okay. There were many ex-FLDS children enrolled, so at least I didn't have to have awkward conversations with the administrators about why my kids didn't have school records or why they were behind in social studies, world history, and science. Father had banned those subjects. Yes, agreed. So originally, the last and Mormon and polygamy was all from Joseph Smith teachings, and when it became a problem, they all separated from the polygamy belief. Wow. Thank you guys for giving me that information. I don't really know a lot about it. My kids didn't know how to make friends, though, and they didn't relate to the other students, but the teachers were kind in helping the children adjust to their new life. Angela started giving violin lessons and already had a number of students. I started to do the same. Since everyone in that area knew who we were, that we played the violin well, we didn't have to advertise. Many people simply came asking for lessons. Yeah. Seems like every sugar's dangerous. Like, are you kidding me? He's sick. I wasn't there very long before I realized that I didn't want to stay in Centennial. A lot of people there lived polygamy by choice, and I couldn't see myself living that way again. The men in town all looked at single women like my sisters and me as potential wives to add to their families. I was not interested. Oh, but it is still a misdemeanor. So they must have a lot then, the Browns. I'm thinking a whole bunch of misdemeanors because they're still living that way. Well, I guess the other ladies had left. They're not married anymore. They left. So it's just Robin, right? Of course, father wasn't happy with us, and he sent our uncles to track us down. They couldn't call me because I had gotten a new phone, so they started following us and showing up at our apartment late at night. One morning, as I was dropping my kids off at school, Uncle Seth Jeffs showed up and put a phone to my ear. Here, Rachel, say hello. I was so startled, I didn't know what to do. I said, hello. Uncle Lyle started right in reading a message from father. Thus saith the Lord to Rachel Jeffs. Oh my God, shut up. The priesthood never takes children away from their mothers, father said. Well, they are the mothers, father, so you can F off. So I didn't return to the church. I would be guilty of murder of the living order because I had taken my children away from the church. This is insane. Yes, you are right. I don't know where I got the Utah thing from. Yeah, that's what I would think. Wow. Considering he sent mothers away from their children all the time, I didn't think it was much of an argument. This effort to get us back was a first. Everyone who had left before us was barred forever. End of story. Even Lyle remarked, this is a great privilege because the Lord has never allowed any others to come back. Later that day, Becky told me Seth had followed her all over the town. She sped dangerously down dirt roads and clear out the airport just to get away from him. Several days later, Seth approached Angela and me and tried to give us another message. Sorry, Uncle Seth, Angela said. We cannot trust father because of what he did when we were young. With that, we turned and walked away. That's some awesome shit right there. Another time, Uncle Isaac, who had gotten my number from one of my friends in the church, called me. We will buy a house for you anywhere you want if you will just live under the direction of the priesthood. Hell no. But I couldn't do that to my children again. It was amazing to me that father was suddenly promising all these wonderful things if we would just come back. Becky, Angela, and I were all getting pretty tired of these men following us, so we finally told the FBI what was happening, and they offered to help us. The next time someone from the church approached us, we told them that the FBI was involved, and they started to leave us alone more. That's insane. Becky was still recovering from her breakdown. She turned to one of her mother's brothers as a stand in father for help and guidance. But as a polygamous man, he looked at her, his own flesh and blood niece, as a potential wife and tried to seduce her. Holy shit. I have to get out of here now, Becky said when she told us what happened. My cousin Aaron Wayman and my brother in law Danny Allred were working on a job for Phase Concrete in Pagaso, no, Pagosa, sorry, Springs in Colorado just then, and they asked me to bring the children for a visit. So Becky and I decided to take our kids and check it out every night. Why would you do that? I mean, it really is up to you, right? What you do and what you don't do, what should be illegal and what should be legal, right? If that were laws that would actually stick, I mean, I don't know. I don't think it's right, but who am I? You know? It was a 10-hour drive through a storm, but we made it to Colorado Springs in one piece. Aaron had gotten us a hotel suite with 2 bedrooms, and we could stay until we decided what to do. Aaron had rented a house with a hot tub on the porch, and we were over there every day, sitting in that tub with my kids as the snow fell around us like a cozy dream. We swam at the hot springs every day too. Swimsuits were still too revealing for us, so shh, we made happily do with short pants and t-shirts. I'm considering calling David, Becky said after we put the children to bed one night. Jack, shh. Like he's scared of his own shadow sometimes. Jack, shh, shh. Jack. She hadn't seen her husband since father had sent him away forever in 2012. He'd been living alone in Salt Lake City ever since. You should, I said. At least give him a chance. Becky phoned him right then, and I went to bed. During the night, I got up a few times to check on her, but she was still on the phone. We didn't talk until morning. He's coming up here to get me, Becky said. Seriously? We talked about everything, and he said he wants us with him. I'm really happy for you, Becky, that she would get to be with the man she loved and the father of her children after struggling for so long. But I was a little unnerved as well. I was now on my own. Worldview is different for everyone. No one person is right, but there should be some protection for children about it, out of our. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Can't imagine what it's like looking through their eyes, everything for the first. I think it would be amazing. Can you imagine them having like pizza? Oh, that'd be amazing. A toaster strudel, a pop tart. Now we're on chapter 26. This one's called Answered Prayers. The last chapter. Let's see. Yeah, this is the last chapter, and then we're on the epilogue, and we're done this book. Holy shit. All right, chat 26 is called Answered Prayers. I wasn't going to go back to Centennial, that was for sure. I love my relatives there, and I was very grateful for their help, but I didn't like the way so many men there were on the lookout for more wives. It seemed so unfair to the wives they already had. Becky was moving to Salt Lake City with her husband, and I'd grown up on the outskirts in Sandy, so I thought I'd go there too. I knew my brother Roy was already there. He was the oldest child of father's third wife, Gloria Barlow. Father had never treated him very well, and he had left the church a year earlier. I didn't have a number or address for him, but I found him through Facebook. Holy shit, she's on Facebook. This is crazy. Yeah, 87. Yeah, in the hot tub. Can you imagine? Viewing the world after never having experienced anything would be like being a newborn, right? I think it would be such an amazing experience. Yeah, he's sick. Sick bastard. Roy told me about an organization called Holding Out Help. I've actually heard of that. It's a nonprofit group that provides resources to people leaving the FLDS. Everything from personal hygiene products to clothes to doctors and attorneys and housing placement. Now, does anybody know anything about that? The Holding Out Help, if it's still a good thing or not? Because I remember, yeah, she was 12. Um, I don't know. I remember reading something about that, and KJ was involved with it, and I just, is it bad? Is it good? No, I'll be sorry for laughing. So everything from personal hygiene products to clothes to doctors and attorneys and housing placement. I met with Tanya Tewell, the group's founder, and she put me in touch with an older couple who offered me 2 rooms in their house until another house could be found. The couple were very kind to us, but it was difficult staying in a room in someone else's house with 5 children who weren't in school because we didn't know where we'd be living long term. Very sick. Absolutely. She was 12 years old. There's an actual tape of him Ring her. Oh my God. I watched Keep Sweet and Obey. Biggest regret of my life. If I had known that was on there, I would never watched it. I still get nightmares. Oh, I said, have you I'm assuming you have been. Have you heard about the nonprofit organization? It's called Holding Out Help. I guess they help people in the FLDS and IBLP to get housing and doctors and attorneys and stuff like that, holding out help. KG was somewhat involved with that. I think um I can't remember what it was. It was something that she was promoting, and then they said they wanted nothing to do with hers. One of the first things I did while I came up with a plan was change my older daughter's names. Good girl. I'd never liked the names father had given them, and neither did they. Barbie became Ember Rose. Aw. And Martha became Majasa Gold. An attorney named Roger Houle did the legal paperwork for us pro bono. That is awesome. We've been in Salt Lake just a few days when my cousin Aaron Wayman called and asked if we'd like to come live with him in Amarillo, Texas, where he'd recently moved for Phase Concrete. Aaron was now a foreman and made good income, so he kept working there, even though in his heart he too had left the church. If you find a house before holding out help does, then we'll move in with you, I told him. Yeah, it wasn't what KJ said. Thank you. Within a week, Aaron had found a small house in the middle of the town with a brown fence around the backyard. I can't even talk about her. He freaks every time. Jack, shh. Every time I mention that woman's name, he freaks out. Jack! So within a week, Aaron had found a small house in the middle of town with a brown fence around the backyard. We didn't mind that it was small since it was temporary. Jack! I agree. That is insane. I believe it though. Jack! It's all right. Come here. Aaron had plans to move to Montana when he'd saved up enough money in any case. I like that idea too because I love the mountains. In the meantime, he borrowed a trailer to hitch to his truck and came to get us for the drive to Texas. Aaron introduced my children to activities they've never been allowed to do in the church. The first time we went skiing was a revelation. Majasa, brave and wild, took to the slopes like a pro. Wow. Rulon, oh, you got to change that frickin' name, girl. Only 7 years old, was also a quick learner and conquered the big trails in no time. Ember and I weren't so brave, and my first run down the beginning slope was a mess. This is supposed to be fun. By my third run, I started to get the hang of it and enjoy myself. The real prize for me was the joy in my heart at seeing my children having fun. It was spring by then, tornado season in that part of the country, and we did see some fierce storms and heard plenty of tornado warnings, but we never did experience a twister, which was fine by me. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, I know. That's why I'm saying I hope she changes his name. Several times after I left, I asked my Uncle Isaac if I could speak to Rich. He told me that Rich had chosen to obey father, so he would not talk to me. I would be oh my gosh. He'd be yeah. Well, guess what, Rachel? You can go after his sorry ass for child support. You of all people definitely earned it. It's still a problem. Yeah. I had to face that Rich wanted to live in the church under father's harsh rules, but I couldn't understand how he could make no effort to find his children or speak to them or even inquire if they were okay. It was hard for the children to accept that their father cared more about the church than about them. I don't believe a reasonable man would let someone else get between him and his own family, but Rich had allowed father to do exactly that. because he's a coward. We was staying with Aaron and Armadillo a couple of months when his bosses at Base Concrete found out he had us apostates living with him, and they fired him. Rather than being a bad thing, it freed us up sooner than expected, and we all moved to Polson, Montana in early June. We found a ranch on 20 acres of land there. The house was a cozy three-bedroom with a loft. The only challenge was all of us having to share a single bathroom, but we managed. In August, I enrolled my children in a small country public school called Valley View. The children had an easier time adjusting there than they had at the larger public school they'd attended in Centennial. The schoolhouse had only two classrooms, one for kindergarten through grade 3, and the other for grades 4 to 6. There was a nice playground surrounded by fields of potatoes, corn, and wheat. What? So she went to another. What? I'm confused. A country public school she enrolled him in called Valley View, and it only had two classrooms. That's weird. There was a nice playground surrounded by fields of potatoes, corn, and wheat. The children loved it when they saw cowboys moving herds of cows down the road that passed in front of the school. I decided to focus on my education now, too. Since I'd stopped attending our church after eighth grade, I had a lot of catching up to do, but I managed to get my GED in a month and then started to take classes at SKC College in Ronan. Good for her. It was sometimes difficult helping the children with their homework and getting my own homework done, but we did it. I gave violin lessons when I wasn't in school. So child support is hard to get when the men won't put. So whose name's on that? It's just no name. If they have a home delivery, do they receive a birth certificate? That's a good question. Yeah, because they don't go to the hospital, so no, I wouldn't think so. And then Victoria. I worried that I wasn't being a good mom and I spent my energy trying to get good grades of my own. And at times I felt overwhelmed and alone, but I was determined to provide for my kids. The church had not prepared me to work outside the world, to make a living to support my family. It didn't prepare any of us women to do that. All we could do was sew and cook and clean. The men at least had skills and useful trades, like construction or furniture making. The only way I was going to get a good job was to get an education. I also continued giving violin lessons for income. She is talented, yeah. Yes, you petition the state you live in for a birth certificate. No name, eh? My brother Ray found me on Facebook not long after we got to Montana to tell me he was leaving too. I talked to Aaron about it and agreed that Ray could move in with us. He didn't live with us very long because he was quickly able to get a place of his own. Who can blame him? What with the one bathroom and all those kids? But he helped us a lot. After the last time I saw him in Short Creek, Ray had moved in with Rich, and he asked him about what I told him. Rich acknowledged that father had confessed, but Rachel isn't supposed to talk about that. When father found out that Ray had asked, he sent Ray away from our family to work for Faze, which only confirmed that what I told him was true. Ray was just 21 years old when he decided to get out. Jesus. Yeah, that's crazy. My dad's mom had 21 children. All but my dad. He was the last baby World War. Wow. Yeah, I agree. Mine was a C-section, my one and only. I hadn't seen my husband in 4 years, but it was hard to let him go and think of myself as single. I was 31 years old and I had no idea how to date. It was a scary prospect with 5 children too. There, now we get the age. So I had no idea. I was 31 years old and I had no idea how to date. It was a scary prospect with 5 children too. It seemed nearly impossible. When we were still in Salt Lake, I guess word got out that Warren Jeff's daughters were available, and men did contact me asking to go out with me, but but I turned them all down. Some of the older men already had wives, and the younger men who had no families were no match for a woman with 5 kids. That is so disgusting. Perhaps I was too picky, but I had enough on my plate as it was. No, girl, you were not too picky at all. I still felt the way when we moved to Montana, not far from another FLDS outpost just across the border in Canada, which meant there were other former church members in the area. A man in Canada who had left the church a few years earlier reached out and asked if I would let him court me, but he had already had 2 wives. So I politely told him I wasn't going to live in polygamy again. Would you be willing to talk to my brother? The man said. He doesn't believe in polygamy either. I agreed to talk to the man's brother, but fully expected nothing to come of it. That brother was Brandon. He and I started talking casually at first. Brandon was a little less than a year older than me and had been married in the church also, but he had left in 2012. His ex wife, whom father had chosen for him, was still in the church, and she and Brandon shared custody of their 4 children. Brandon and I met for the first time a few weeks later, near the end of October 2015. We decided to meet in the Walmart parking lot, and then he would drive us to his truck to Glacier National Park. I got there first and waited, my nerves growing more jangly with each passing minute that he was late. He finally pulled up next to me and rolled down his window. Hi, Brandon said. He was wearing sunglasses, so I couldn't tell what his eyes looked like, but I didn't dare ask him to remove them. He quickly explained he didn't have a GPS in his truck, so it had taken him a little while to find the place since he'd never been there before. On the way back to the park, we talked and got to know each other. Brandon seemed very genuine, and I found it easy to confide in him. We went to dinner at Applebee's that evening. As we sat down at our table, he finally took off his shades, and I was struck by how handsome he was. But it was how kind and caring he was that really got to me. I think we were both too nervous to eat much. Brandon had to go back to work, so he took me back to my car after dinner before heading back to Canada. I so wanted him to hug me, but I don't think either of us dared. This was new territory for both of us. It was new and exciting to spend time with someone because I chose to. On our second date, we met in Bonner's Ferry that time. We hugged. Together, we planned a trip to Southern California at the end of the year. We had a friend, Marty, who had left the FLDS and became a Navy SEAL. He was stationed in San Diego, and he invited us to stay with him. My brother Ray and sister Angela came too. I'm so sorry. That's awful. The 4 of us arrived in the evening, and we all stayed up late talking and laughing with Marty and his wife until we cried. The next morning, we visited the Fort Rosecrans National Cemetery. I had never seen anything like it. The rows and rows of identical stones commemorating fallen members of the military set against a panoramic view of the bay. I was filled with a sense of reflection and peace. Later that day, we put on our swimsuits and Marty took us to Colorado Beach, where the SEALs train. We spent the afternoon in the ocean, my first visit since that brief experience in Galveston when I visited father in prison. The salty sweetness of the ocean made me incredibly happy, and I wanted to soak up every moment of it. I walked all the way out until the water came up to my shoulders, diving under the waves as they came toward me. Brandon worried I was too far out and asked me to come back, but I stayed right where I was. I was fine. Her Brandon, yeah. As the sun was sinking toward the western horizon, Brandon said, "We need to get a sunset picture up on the tower at the obstacle course." So Marty and his wife, Angela and Ray, and Brandon and I all jumped into Marty's ride and drove over to the course where the seals trained. Brandon and Marty lifted me up onto the tower, which they called the high slide for life, and Brandon climbed up after me. Followed by Marty to take our picture, I could see a storm brewing in the distance, which made the sunset even more spectacular, the waves crashing along the shore below. I was mesmerized by the view. Suddenly, Brandon dropped to one knee in front of me. "Rachel, will you marry me?" I think she's still with this guy too. I was stunned. No one had ever proposed to me before. This was also new for me. I didn't know what I was doing or how to respond. I said yes. Brandon placed a ring on my finger and stood up so Marty could take a picture. He teased us and made us laugh. They lowered me down to the beach where Marty performed a mock wedding for us. A mock wedding. Why would they really get married if they're out of this crap? Do you, brother Brandon, take sister Rachel by the right hand and marry her to yourself? He said. Brandon laughed and said yes. Dear sister Rachel, do you take dear brother Brandon by the right hand and give himself yourself to him? Yep, I said. Then, dear brother Brandon, you may kiss her. Brandon put his strong arms around me and kissed there with the sand between our toes, the waves of the ocean lapping at the shore and loving and a lovely sunset behind us. It was a day I marked as very happy in my life. It was wonderful to choose a man to fall in love naturally instead of having my life arranged by my father. I felt so free and full of love, I could hardly place my happiness. I moved into my own house with my kids in January 2016. It was an older house, but big with 5 bedrooms, a large living space downstairs, and lots of windows that let the light in. It felt good to be on my own finally, although it was difficult making ends meet. Oftentimes, I wondered if I'd be able to manage, but somehow things worked out, and Brandon helped us a lot. Then my landlord got engaged and decided he needed my house for himself. He gave me less than a month's notice to find a new place. I didn't have credit history or a regular job, so it was hard to find a house we could afford. Brandon helped me look from Salt Lake City up the Canadian border, but nothing looked promising. I cried and prayed a lot during the month of May as June deadline approached. We both applied for a number of places but never heard back from the real estate agents. Then, just 9 days before we were going to be evicted and I was running out of hope, a man called from Idaho. I don't care about credit or anything like that. Just give me your landlord's number, and if he gives a good payment history, you can rent my home. The relief I felt was indescribable. We moved to Idaho a few days later. After all this time, it seemed my prayers had finally been answered. All right, now we're on the epilogue, which is not very long at all. My God, they got 78 wives, 53 children. Yeah, I don't know if they were just messing around, joking around about a wedding, or if they really think they're getting married. I don't know. That's why, because it would leave a paper trail. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Life never ends up the way I think it's going to. It surprises me in so many ways every day, some good, some bad. Being grateful for whatever life hands me is the key to my sanitary and happiness. My sanity, not sanitary. I will always be grateful for my time with Rich. He made me feel like a good person. He made me feel loved and showed me that all men are not like my father. Because of him, I learned to compose music, make cheese, milk cows, and drive a tractor. Rich made me laugh, share beautiful sunsets with me, and gave me 5 precious gifts in my children. I wish I had told him how I really felt the last time I saw him, that I had disobeyed the rules and hugged and kissed him and told him I loved him. I have to remind myself often that it wouldn't have changed anything. He is here now. He doesn't help take. What? I have to remind myself often that it wouldn't have changed anything. He isn't here now. He doesn't help take care of his children, and I don't feel the same way toward him now. It was not it has not been easy adjusting to life in the outside world. Learning to navigate a whole new way of living and supporting 5 children as a single mother has been a struggle, but having our freedom is worth it. I love that we can go play dodgeball on the trampoline or lie out under the stars and tell scary stories. In the summer, we swim, pick huckleberries, and go hiking. In the winter, we go tubing down our hills, ice skating at the park, or jump off the roof of the garage into the enormous piles of snow that come down here. Come on, Mom, come dance with me. That's what my kids say to me almost every evening now, as one of them takes my arm and leads me to the living room. I'll run the music, Majesta says. She's a pro at finding the best tunes for us to jam to. The girls, young teenagers now, do one-handed cartwheels and try to teach me the latest dance steps. Moves from jazz to hip hop to ballet. We love it all. The boys have their own tricks to show off. Rulon flies around the room doing flips and cartwheels and twirls on his head. His little brother tries to copy his moves. 7-year-old Nathaniel is determined to teach me how to do a cartwheel. Takes a lot of tries before you can do it good, he tells me. I tried to do one for his sake, but I can't seem to get my legs up in the air. It's okay, Mom. You're good at lots of other things. I laugh and we keep boogieing, tumbling and laughing our faces off. Our evening dance time is silly and joyful and by far our favorite part of the day. I believe God loves to see us enjoy life with our families. Mhm. I like your useless information in your brain because it's helpful to me. Yes, I didn't either, Victoria. It does. I still have bad dreams about father. In some of these dreams, father insists that I have sex with him every night, and there's nowhere for me to escape. That's called PTSD, honey. During the day, I gather my little sisters to protect them from him. I tell my sisters to make sure to lock their doors at night. As night falls, I'm overwhelmed with dread of what I know is to come. In some of these dreams, Father grips my wrist tightly and explains to me why God wants me to have a baby with him. He won't let go until I promise to have a baby with him. Holy fudge. In some of these dreams, I hear Father telling my little sisters why God wants them to have sex with him. I step in and tell him to do it to me instead. Since he has already hurt me, I don't want them to suffer as I have. I hate how these dreams still plague me. I hope with all my heart and soul someday they will go away. But I know that I am fortunate because these are just dreams. For many of his family, the nightmares is still all too real. I'd break an arm if I tried to do a cartwheel. I'm 39. I just can't. In late August 2016, Father sent letters from prison in which he said that his family was unworthy of him and that God would give him a new family. He needs to shut the fuck up. I can't stand his ass. Sorry, him. No, they're not. They're hers and Rich's. He sent 7 of his most special wives away forever with instructions that they must leave their children behind. This edict, like so many others that have come from behind those prison walls, hurts my heart. Father has trained his family, especially the women, in such a way that they cannot survive outside the church. Father's 12-year-old bride, Alicia, now 24, who was living with us hiding in Idaho, recently escaped with a man she always loved. She came to visit me and asked to hear my story. After I finished telling her, she said, "Rachel, why didn't you tell us sooner so we didn't have to waste all those years there?" I smiled and said, "You wouldn't have believed me." "You're right," she said. "Sometimes we have to go through hell ourselves before we are humble enough to listen." She was 12. She then told me that father sent a message to all of his family after we, his daughters, left the church, saying the reason we left is because we were guilty of uh master themselves and would not confess to him. Why the fuck would you tell your father that you're doing that? This is disgusting. I can just imagine the image my brothers and sisters have of me. We are all taught that leaving the church is the greatest sin, and that anyone who does is wicked. A number of people who left the church before me reached out to hear my story. After I'd repeated it several times, I started to write it down. My father's wives are lost without church, but they will not speak to me because they still believe that I am wicked. I hope they will come to believe that what they've been taught is a lie, and that the world is not a wicked place, and that they are worthy of God's love. To all my family still in this church, or cast out but afraid to reach out, you always have a home at my house. Until then, I pray. Oh my God. It's actually gonna make me cry. Then they have the family tree back here. That's it. Yeah, Victoria. And Rapiset. He deserves the death penalty. So it does say here, it says the family tree, Warren Jeffs, 78 wives and 53 children. Okay, that book is now done. So now I need to get one of my, well, not one, the subscriber that said that they would like to come on and tell their story. It's going to be heartbreaking, I can imagine. This one was. You were a tomboy? I was weird because I would always play with Barbies. Um, they were like my thing until I was like 12 or maybe even 13. And then I'd always be around boys. I grew up in the country, so I had a lot of guy friends. I had a lot of girlfriends too, but I'd mainly hang out with guys because that was the only ones in my area, like around the block and stuff. I don't believe they have the death penalty. Wish they did. If you guys have any questions or anything, I'll try and answer them to the best of my ability. So tomorrow I'll be reading this book, which I just started, if you're interested, Victoria. Um, this one is called The Mojave Incident. So this is about an abduction of a husband and a wife. Goes into grave detail, and it's one of the most one of them, yeah, one of the famous stories out there. They do have it in Utah. Where I can't remember where the hell is this piece of shit in prison anyways. Um yeah, where the hell is he? This book is freaky. Yeah. Oh, there she is with her husband, the one that she got to pick. There's Rachel and Brandon. There she is with their three girls and two boys. I'll put these pictures if on my community tab so you guys can see them. They said this may be the most frightening UFO book ever written. Well, it scared the shit out of me. He is in at the Lewis C. Powledge unit of the TDCJ near Palestine, Texas. And that's where Rachel's living as of this book. Like just looking at that freaks me out. That's how she was with her kids before she left this cult. It's just creepy. Yeah, her children are happy. They're all grown. There they are there. That's Rachel and all her children, her two boys and three girls. Here they are. Wait, what is this? Oh, this is the sisters. So father sent me and my sisters away from our children to a house of hiding in Idaho. To stay sane, we had to do some crazy things. And there's the four of the sisters. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, 8, 9, 10, 15. Where's the other half? My God. I'll put them on my community tab so you guys can see them. But this is Rachel and all her sisters. Like, there's a huge here, sorry. I'll do is this. And there's a whole bunch of them. This was taken in what, 2008. That's all of them. Sorry, it's hard to do this. Crazy, right? It's a lot of kids. It's all her sisters. She's so young. Hey, Amanda. She did an article at some point after the book talking about her youngest learning disability. Oh, Nathaniel? Let me see what it says here. Oh, this is sad. It says that father sent Rich away and me away from our children to repent while I was still nursing my youngest, my son Nathaniel. He's trying to squirm away from me. After I returned, he didn't even remember me. Can you imagine? He doesn't even know his own mom. She stated that it took a while, but he finally did come around and remembered who she was. Now there's quite a few photos in here. So I'll put them on my community tab so you guys can look at them. Oh my God. Like just seeing this one here. Sorry. That one right there with Rachel and her disgusting father. Like I feel like I want to go through this book and rip his throat out because I know what he's doing to her. It's saying in here that he's actually had 60. Oh wow, it says 53 here. So is there more found? Oh, the pictures fell out. Sure. I will take photos of them right now and I'll put them on the community tab so I don't forget. I'll be live tomorrow with the UFO book if you want to come back, Victoria. Oh, okay. You guys have a great night, okay? I'm gonna put these in my community tab. Go take a look at these photos. Tomorrow we'll be back with the Mojave incident. So this will be fun. All right, you guys have a great night. Thanks for joining me. I'll be back tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Bye, guys. Oh, sorry. Bye, guys. My hair is so wet.